Hello, Kyle. Welcome to Comic Con.
Thank you. Thank you so much. One of my favorite shows, if not my favorite show of the year.
Awesome.
It's definitely the craziest.
Yeah. Now, tell my fans what do you bring out here, the massive verse and all the details.
Yeah, so those who aren't familiar with it, my name's Kyle Higgins. I run a creator-owned superhero universe at Image Comics called The Massiveverse. It's made up of a series of titles that all the creators own and control, and then I creative direct across it. So it's Radiant Black, Rogue Sun, Inferno Girl Red, The Dead Lucky, and No One. I write Radiant Black, which is I like to describe as like Power Rangers with adult problems. I formerly wrote Power Rangers and launched and ran the line for the first 3 years of the Boom Studios comics. And then No One is our true crime superhero series that we are very excited to announce that in addition to the 10-issue comic and in-universe audio scripted podcast with Rachel Lee Cook and Patton Oswalt, Todd Stashwick, and others that we've been doing for the last year, today we're announcing that the story continues in a true crime superhero documentary that Brian Buccellato and I are making with ZQ Entertainment and Steven Schneider, who produced Paranormal Activity, the Insidious films, Late Night with the Devil, Blair Witch. So it's something Brian and I are writing. I'm directing. We're making it with ZQ Entertainment and my company, Black Market Narrative. And so we're very excited to be here today to answer questions and finally talk about it. We've been sitting on this for a long time. So
Wow. Yeah, consider me a new fan. Thank you for the crash course.
yeah, of course. That's what we're here for.
How often do this crossover happen in the comic books?
Well, so what's really cool about our universe is the way we have it set up is that every book is independent. So you only have to read what you're interested in and what you like. Once a year, we do a 50-page one-shot that's a done-in-one story where all the characters cross over and team up, and those are called Supermassive. So we've done 3 of those now. Our third one just came out a few days ago. It's also a part of the big Radiant Black event that we're currently in the middle of, or actually wrapping up, called the Catalyst War. One of the things that really kind of defines our line is that we really like to play with outside-the-box ideas. So in addition, as I was alluding to with No One, having both the comic and the scripted audio series go together for the story, plus in-universe newspaper articles and like ARG, viral Unreal Engine videos, things like that. For Radiant Black, we do things like secret animated short films with Will Friedle from Batman Beyond voicing Radiant Black through a QR code in the book itself, right? We do issues that take place entirely inside these black hole realms called Existence, and we do it all with fluorescent Pantone ink, so the whole book is a blacklight comic. If you see me at the show and I sign books for you, I'll ask you if you want the secret Radiant signature, which is in full invisible ink, UV, and we have little Radiant blacklight keychains so that you can see it. So coming up next, actually, on that line of working is we actually have an audiobook that we're doing for Radiant Black, the first one in a line of books we're going to do through my company, Black Market Narrative. And this one is with Will Friedle and Ryder Strong voicing the 2 leads of Radiant Black, plus some really exciting voice casts we're announcing today, including Todd Stashwick as 001, Ann Yatko from Jujutsu Kaisen playing Radiant Red, Melissa Navia from Star Trek Strange New Worlds playing Radiant Pink, and Troy Baker from way too many credits to name. He is playing our bad boy anti-hero, the Massiveverse Shift. So that'll be coming out later this year, this November, for Volume 1.
Final question before I let you go. So this No One found footage, has it started filming? I mean, when are we going to get to see it for public?
So we're going to be shooting this next year.
Okay, next year
so we're working on it now. Brian and I are writing it. But this has been, what's so exciting about it is this has been the plan since the very beginning.
Okay.
We designed this to be a 3-pronged narrative approach. So the comic and the podcast are parts 1 and 2, and they go hand in hand. And then, as I said, the story continues in the film. And because the film is a documentary, it's actually an adaptation of the comic and the podcast while also being a continuation of the story.
Sweet.
So it's in universe with the comic and the podcast itself.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle.
My pleasure.
Hello, Joe Clark. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good. Welcome to Comic Con, and we are here for the Massiveverse. And tell us, my fans and me, what you did for the Massiveverse.
I'm the co-writer of Radiant Black, and we're just wrapping up the Catalyst War event.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you work closely with Kyle on some of these projects.
Absolutely, yeah.
I I was told that there's a lot of crossovers. It's a shared universe. How big is this universe?
Oh gosh, well we've got 4 or 5, maybe 6 different story threads going on right now. But one of the things that we really pride ourselves in is that they're all self-contained. So if you enjoy a character, if you enjoy a story, there's a whole wealth of other stories you can explore. But if not, it's never going to be a load-bearing type of story where you don't know what's going on and you need the old comic book asterisks. Please read this comic to understand what's going on. We don't have that. So it presents some challenges, but they're worthwhile challenges.
When doing multiverse and shared universe like that, crossovers, does it get like sometimes feels too overwhelming or too ambitious, or how do you make sure you focus on the standalones as well?
Yeah, well, thankfully, we have some very level-headed storytellers who keep very good notes. We're very communicative amongst each other, and we've got people like Ryan Sidoti in the back of the hall there who takes really good inventory of what's happened beforehand, and also we love each other's stories. So I think it really helps, that we like to read it, and it's a joy to read for us. So, yeah, I hope that joy comes through in the reading of it, because we're having a blast, honestly.
Now I hear about this documentary adaptation found footage for No One. Is that correct?
Yeah, so No One's a character that Brian and Kyle have been developing forever, and sort of playing with the language and the iconography of the true crime podcast, and sort of setting up, if you had a vigilante character with a lot of unknown information, what would that look like? Because it probably wouldn't look like 1930s Batman, And so the way they developed this character, it's appeared to be 2 halves of a story. One, a comic book series, and one, a monthly podcast that sort of filled in. But with today, we're announcing that it wasn't 2 halves; those were 2 thirds, and the final surprise third is a feature film, a found footage faux documentary that'll fill in the rest of it.
And Radiant Black characters will show up, will cross over to this adaptation?
I don't know that yet. I'm kind of hoping so, though.
Spoilers.
But you'll have to watch it to find out. I know at the very least there's a lot of love and craft put into making sure that this is a unified world in and of itself. So it'll be part of the holistic whole. I think that might be redundant, of the Massiveverse.
I love it. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Melissa. Welcome to Comic-Con.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm having a blast.
Awesome. Talk to me and my fans about this Massiveverse and the one that you wrote.
Absolutely. So the Massiveverse is a superhero universe that is created with a bunch of different writers all working together. So Kyle Higgins, Ryan Parrott. And the really cool thing about the Massiveverse is that every superhero kind of lives in their own city. So Radiant Black lives in Chicago, Rogue Sung lives in New Orleans, and BB, my character for the Dead Lucky, lives in San Francisco. And you can pick up one book, you can pick them up all, but you can just basically curate your experience and decide who you want to follow, who you don't. But then you get to see them all interact together in Supermassive, which is a once-a-year special that we get to do where they cross over. My character, BB, lives in San Francisco. She is a veteran with PTSD who comes back after losing her squad in a horrific accident and discovers that her city has been privatized by a company called Morrow. And essentially they're running the city as a for-profit monarchy, basically. And she doesn't like that, as a soldier. And so she decides rather than deal with the PTSD she really should deal with, she's going to possess a bunch of robots and fight back her way. So,
has she crossed over into the...
Absolutely, yeah. So she was introduced in the first Supermassive in the last few pages, kind of like our own little end credit sequence. And then she appeared in Supermassive 2, and now she's also in Supermassive 3.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's the one that's coming up? The 3?
Yeah, that's the one that just got released.
Oh, it just got released. Okay, fantastic. Now, so talk to us about the appeal of Massiveverse. Why is it so popular among your fans?
I think what we're trying to do, especially, we all come from superhero franchises one way or another, but me, Kyle, and Ryan especially, we all worked on Power Rangers. And so I think we have an affinity for superheroes. We have an affinity for superheroes that people can relate to. And I think the Supermassive, we really try to focus on superheroes with today's today's problems. You know, these are today's kind of superheroes, like deep in debt or riddled with PTSD, riddled with anxiety, like all these things that, you know, I think a lot of our people deal with today. Like it's been one of the really most rewarding aspects of writing this book is having veterans and people with survivors who are survivors guilt who have come up to me and tell me like they feel seen, that they feel understood in these comics. And it's been absolutely lovely. You know, I mean, Ryan's book, Rogue Sun, deals a lot about divorce. And so like those themes, I think we all resonate with all of us. And I feel like this superhero universe, it's small enough that you can read everything if you want to and not feel lost, but you can also just pick up one book or another book and not have to worry about having to read everything all the time, which is great.
I got to be off tangent here for a bit.
Yeah.
From one fellow Power Rangers fan to another. I know we wish that the 2017 movie had done well, so it
Yeah.
will be a sequel and a franchise, the whole thing.
I
But we
helped
didn't.
develop that, by the way, so thank you.
Yeah, it didn't happen. We were sad about that. Then we lost Jason David Frank. Now everybody's mood is a bit low.
Yeah.
What do you think could revive and rejuvenate the Power Rangers franchise, especially the movies again?
It would always be the fans, the passion of the fans. Like I've been working with the franchise in one way or another for the last 15 years, and one thing that never always surprises me, but never surprises me, is the support for Power Rangers from the fans. And I think it's the fans that will keep it alive. You know,
Nothing's happening yet, though, right now.
we'll find out.
Oh,
You know, oh yeah. So I write the comic books, and my run is ending right now. But you know, we have a panel, and you know, this afternoon, and there might be some stuff revealed there. So you never know.
I love that franchise. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Ryan, welcome to Comic Con.
Thank you, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah, so we're here about the Massive Verse. Talk a bit about this Massive Verse and also what you created.
Yeah, so I created Rogue Sun, which is part of the Massiverse, like you said. It's a story about a 17-year-old kid named Dylan Siegel in New Orleans. His dad left when he was a baby, and he's grown up to be kind of... Can I swear here? Am I?
Yeah,
Okay, he's an asshole. And he's more like Flash Thompson than he is like Peter Parker. He's the one who puts kids in lockers. But he finds out that his dad passed away, and when he goes to the will reading, he discovers that his father has a whole other family, but he's leaving he's a superhero named Rogue Sun, who sort of like gothic, sort of flaming superhero, and he's left that power to him. So in order to become a new superhero, he has to learn about the guy that he's grown up hating his entire life. And the fun part is when he puts the helmet on, there's like a whole like ghost of his father standing right next to him, basically telling him, you know, you got to do better, you got to try hard. It's like, imagine if Iron Man, instead of Jarvis, he had Richard Stark sort of standing next to him, and yeah. So like, it's like kind of fun. It's a screwed up father-son adventure legacy superhero story.
And don't worry, I'm an asshole too, but the good guy. The good guy.
No, it's exactly.
I can relate.
That's the fun ones, right? Like, is Deadpool? Is he a nice guy? Yeah.
So, talk about does this character cross over? Because I hear it's a shared universe. How much is you guys cross over?
Yes. So the way that we designed it was we all wanted to do our own superheroes, and so you can read any book you want by itself. You can read Radiant Black, you can read Rogue Sun, you can read Inferno Red. Sorry, you don't have to read those. You don't have to read everything to know what's going on. But and the one thing we didn't want to do is if you go read a big 2-book and it's like you're enjoying the story, and then they have the big Asgard thing and everybody has to go to Asgard and it just derails the story. We made it so that every year we do a thing called Supermassive, which is basically a 50-page like one shot that has the crossover, all the characters where they are in the story, so that it does. And you can read it. You don't have to, but you can. And it's this sort of way of allowing our characters to cross over, but not derailing everybody's story and making it so that we have to all go into space for an issue, you know, like that. It's like for your stuff. So it's a fun way to be able to enjoy the shared universe, but in a way that doesn't sort of allows everybody to tell their own stories.
Now, hypothetically, if an aspiring comic book writer comes to you guys, hey, I got this new character, I want to be a part of the Massiverse, want to cross over into you guys, what are some of the criteria you guys like? Okay, welcome.
It's a good question. We haven't had anybody do that yet. We have talked to some creators about that, have their own stories, and like, hey, it'd be fun if we could cross over. And I'd be like, that'd be really fun. But yeah, I think the thing that we sort of focused on was the idea of doing sort of tokusatsu inspired stuff, where all the characters in the Massiverse have the helmets and sort of transform. So that's one thing, but you don't have to do that, but. That's what our inspiration was. We all try to keep it thematically and sort of in the same place. It's all about sort of like growth stories and coming of age stories, but all sort of trapped inside the superheroes, sort of superhero metaphor. But yeah, I think we're open to anybody. Like, well, heck, if Spawn wanted to come in and have fun, we'd do that. Yeah.
So what did the Power Rangers guys say when they heard that you're making the Power Rangers with adult themes?
Oh, I mean, that's Kyle. Thankfully, Kyle did that. I wrote Power Rangers for 5 years. I wrote over 100. I wrote over 100 issues. So like I'm the guy. Like I was the guy who would probably be upset because I was writing when he was doing Radiant Black. I was writing Power Rangers. I was like, oh, so you get to do the adult ones, and I'm stuck doing the others. But no, it's been fun. It was. I think we used Power Rangers as sort of a get our feet wet in that world, learn what we wanted to write, learn the things that we were excited about, and then now we can do our own, which is free of continuity and free of that's the problem writing a Power Ranger book is there's a lot of rules because you're playing with someone else's characters. The nice thing about playing with your own characters is that you can break all those rules.
I love that. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Hello, Brian. Welcome to Comic Con.
Hi there.
Yeah. So tell us about this massive verse and what you created. No one.
Oh, sure. Massiverse is a superhero universe published by Image that began with Kyle Higgins' first book, Radiant Black. I think No One, which I co-created with Kyle, might have been the fourth or fifth title and fifth hero in this series, but it's a very different type of hero. He's a vigilante, and you don't know who he is. And so literally you don't know who this character is. You experience the world and the mystery through the eyes of everybody else. So.
Any powers per se?
He's kind of like a Daredevil, Batman-y kind of character. So he doesn't shoot lasers or anything like that. Yeah.
All right, cool. So how many volumes have there been?
The 10th issue just dropped, and
Okay.
so it's a miniseries, and so it was intended to be 10 issues. Each issue has its companion podcast, where two of the characters, two reporters from inside the book, are hired to create a podcast called Who Is No One. So you read the issue, and then at the end there's a QR code, and that takes you to the actual episode that we recorded. And like Patton Oswalt and Rachel Lee Cook are two of the voices. Yeah.
Love those guys. Now, I hear it's a shared universe. How often does this character cross over?
He's never crossed over.
Oh.
Not to say that he. All the stories, they're in their own different cities.
Yeah.
So like, No One's in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Which is not to say that they won't cross over ever, but because we just finished his first storyline and like the first big story, like there was no need or there's no place for another superhero in that story.
Okay. So I hear about this upcoming adaptation, documentary, and found footage. Talk to me about those details. What can we expect? It's based on No One, right? That's the property.
Yeah, it's basically, so we have the comic book, we've got the podcast, and the third element is going to be this found footage true crime superhero documentary.
Awesome.
That covers all the events of the comic book.
And then when it's gonna start? When will we get to see
You know what? It'll be out next year sometime. We're working on it. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah, for sure.